boys and girls. I'm thankful you joined us today. All this month, we're learning about gratitude. Let's read out loud what it means together, okay? Gratitude is letting others know you see how they've helped you. And one way we're getting in the habit of gratitude this month is through shout-outs. A shout-out is just that. You shout out something that you're grateful for. And thank you to everyone who participated and added their comments in online service last week. So this week's shout-outs, I'm going to read them out loud right now, okay? Liam is so thankful to God for animals, especially his dog LJ. Gavin is thankful for his mom and for his cutie. Philip is thankful for his new Pikachu jammies. James is thankful for sunny days. Janelle is thankful for community support, care for the needy, and neighborly kindness. Mike is thankful for our pastors and staff and for all the work that goes into making connections with God and with each other. Jennifer is thankful for our church. Mimi is thankful for our worship leader and team. And Bruce is thankful for the opportunity he had to serve in Medford, Oregon. These are some great shout outs. Keep them coming because there's room on this board and I want to have it filled up by the end of the month. And I'm thankful for our church. I'm thankful God called me to be a pastor, a children's pastor, because it's the best. Now, another way we're getting in the habit of gratitude this month, the Thanksgiving calendar. Let's go through today's prompt, okay? And it says, through Covenant World Relief and Development, women in poor countries are learning how to read and write. So give 10 cents for every person in your home who knows how to read. Boys and girls, let me ask you a question. When you have to do your reading homework at night, do you feel grateful that you're learning how to read? Maybe not. But when you think about how girls in some parts of the world are never taught how to read, then you can see that learning to read is an opportunity we have in this part of the world, and we can be grateful for that. And this is one of the reasons we can be grateful, along with our shout-outs. But today we're going to talk about how we can express our gratitude. And our lesson comes to us from the book of 2 Samuel 6:12 through 22. 2 Samuel, like I said, it's one of the books in the Old Testament, and you can find it right after the book of 1 Samuel. Before we begin, let me ask you a question. Do you think you can express gratitude by dancing? Raise your hand if you think the answer is yes. Okay, put it down. Raise your hand if you think the answer is no. Okay, put it down. How many of you raised your hands both times? Be honest. I know some of you, and I know that you like to do that. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I think the answer is. Instead, I'm going to tell you that King David thought dancing was great. It was a great way to express gratitude to the Lord. And you've heard of King David before. He was the shepherd boy that defeated the great big warrior Goliath with a slingshot. He's the one that was chosen to be king after Saul, instead of Saul's own son, Jonathan. But then King Saul was so upset about that David had to go into hiding. Well, we're going to pick up our story, David's story, after he became king. And this was after many years of war and fighting. And something was missing in Israel. It was the ark. And I'm not talking about Noah's Ark. Preschoolers, you learned about that last month, didn't you? Did you guys make your wind socks that was in your kids' monthly box? If you did, send me a picture if you still have it, okay? But getting back to our story about David and the missing ark, it wasn't Noah's big boat with all the animals on it. No, this was the Ark of the Covenant. And the word covenant means an agreement. And in this case, it was God's promise, an agreement with the people of Israel. The ark itself was a wooden chest covered in gold with some special objects inside, including stone tablets. The stone tablets, the ones with the 10 Commandments carved on them. And the ark was incredibly important to the Israelites because in some special way, the ark carried God's very own presence among his people. When they had the ark, they knew that God was with them. And at one point, the ark had been captured by the Philistines. Then it was returned to God's people. But instead of being in the city of Jerusalem where it belonged, it was sitting in the home of a man named Obed-Edom. And David decided it was time to bring the ark back to Jerusalem. So he built a big tent where the ark would go. Then he gathered some of his soldiers and marched to where the ark rested. And the men lifted the ark with carrying poles, and they were careful to carry it like God had told them to. And the men began to march toward Jerusalem. And you know what? They took 6 steps towards Jerusalem, and then David stopped them. You know why? Because he was so thankful that they were bringing the ark home. He wanted to make a sacrifice to honor God. 6 steps into their journey, David stopped everybody and everything to honor God, almost as soon as they'd started on their way. And after he had done his sacrifices, and thanked God and worshiped God, they went on their way to Jerusalem. And as they were going on their way, David began dancing. He danced for God with all his might. And they brought the ark into the city with the help of the people there. And they shouted and blew trumpets. And David continued to dance all the way to the tent that he had set up before they left. He worshiped God and he made more sacrifices to honor God. And then David wanted to party. He wanted to celebrate with people, and he gave everyone loaves of bread, date cakes, and raisin cakes, and it was a party. But not everyone was in the mood to celebrate. David's wife, Michal, was watching from a window, and she saw how David was carrying on, dancing without his royal robes, and instead of being, kingly. So when David got home, Michal came out to meet him, and she told him he'd made a fool of himself by dancing. But I want you to listen to what David said to her, okay? You can follow along and read out loud with me if you want. I did it to honor the Lord. The Lord appointed me ruler over his people. I will celebrate to honor the Lord. 2 Samuel 6:21. David also said he was willing to bring even less honor to himself if it would bring more honor to God. See, Michal cared more about the way things looked. She thought it made David look silly to dance and thank God in front of everyone. That didn't matter to David. He was so full of gratitude to God that he wanted to show it. He wanted to thank God for the amazing things he'd done. We can do what David did too. We can show our gratitude to God by celebrating what he's done in our lives. And that's our bottom line this week. Will you say it with me? Celebrate what God has done. Over and over, throughout history, God has been doing great things for his people. David definitely knew that was true. That's why he was dancing. And he danced like nobody was watching. There's so many reasons we have to be thankful. And so many reasons we can thank God and honor God. And if you find yourself at a loss here, how about this? We can be thankful because the Lord is with his people. He has been with us all along. He is with us now, and he will be with us come what may. Let's wrap up this time with our memory verse. Will you say it out loud with me? Give thanks to the Lord because he is good. His faithful love continues forever. Psalm 136:1. Elementary kids, this week in your boxes, you will find your own shout out cards for one of your activities. And if you haven't gotten a box and would like to, you can follow the link below to register your family so you can receive them. And preschoolers, I know that you have been learning about gratitude too, learning about how to be grateful. And I'd love to see your pictures of your thankful trees. Okay, kids, I hope you have a really great week. We'll see you next time. Let's continue in our worship. And if the mood strikes you, get up and move with the music. Celebrate what God has done, what God is doing, and what God will do in your life. Oh, the plans he has for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. The Lord is good, and his faithful love continues forever.